Welcome everyone to the Pro Football Enterprise YouTube channel and the 70 Chipcast is our very first episode with myself, Robertson Vire, my good friend and longtime co-host of many different things at this point, and Parker. Um, if you're new here, this is a Washington Redskin Commander focused podcast, YouTube show. We're going to be looking back at some stuff, doing throwbacks. We're going to be looking ahead to the future for the upcoming 2025 NFL season for the Washington Commanders coming off an NFC Championship game. We're very excited to start this. We've been doing odds on favorite over a box score for gosh, it would have been, I think this would have been year four if we had continued it. So we'd done it for a while. But we finally settled in on doing a Commanders focused podcast. And we're very happy to be doing so. And I can't wait for this season. I can't wait to get this thing started. Ben, how excited are you for this? And, you know, just kind of introduce everybody to, 70 Chipcast.
Yeah, listen, I promise I'm not more excited than Robertson. I probably sound like it because by nature I tend to sound a little more excited. But listen, this is awesome. We have been working all off season to get to this point. Not only studying the team, as a lot of you have watched over the past few months, studying the team, but emotionally and getting ready for this specific 70 chip cast beginning right here. So basically, we did a soft launch. This is the grand opening. We are unbelievably excited. And we feel like we're a part of all the new wonderful things that are going on for the Washington franchise right now. I mean, you got the owner, you got the quarterback, you got a new stadium coming in, you got us being a part of this. I mean, hey, this is really a lot of fun. It really is exciting to be a part of this. We're going to be doing this for a very long time. Hopefully, Washington continues to win for a very long time. It's a lot of fun covering a good football team. We would cover them if they were bad, but they're not bad anymore. They're really good, in case anybody hasn't noticed. All right. Okay, so I'm unbelievably excited. Thank you all for starting this with us, and hopefully you keep coming back for more of this good stuff. I promise we have some good stuff kicked in here tonight. We've been working on it. It's good. You're going to enjoy eating this stuff.
So for a couple housekeeping items to start off, okay?
Yes,
For our newer listeners, Ben is not a Washington football fan. He's not. So
correct.
he's not, but I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that you're not a fan because you bring an outsider's perspective. You
Right.
bring your background's more Kansas City, which is great because you're like, okay,
Yeah.
even though you stopped following them recently, you still had that like decade of Andy Reid, Alex Smith, and then Patrick Mahomes, where it's like they were in the playoffs every single year. You know what winning, consistent winning is supposed to look like on the team's perspective, the front office perspective. So you have that outsiders, and plus just studying all front offices and teams and all that, you have that perspective to bring to us, which I think is incredibly valuable because a lot of times us fans, we just kind of get tunnel visioned and stuck in one mode and you're like, hey, that's not supposed to be like that, you know? So I appreciate that. Number two, why are we called 70 Chipcast? Okay, you
Mm.
see on our logo there, we got John Riggins absolutely demolishing. I can't remember his first name, but his last name's O'Neill. Shame on me. Mine's drawing a blank right now, but 70 Chip was the play that was called during Super Bowl 17 on a 4th and 1 call that pretty much sealed our franchise's first Super Bowl victory. So for our younger fans that don't know that, that's what it is. 70 chip, iconic play in franchise history, like the play basically. And I we respect the past, we honor the past. I will continue to do so. I'm not afraid of that logo. I'm not afraid of that name. I'm not afraid of it. I'm going to say it till the day I die because I bleed burgundy and gold. I love the Redskins. It's hard to not call them that. Um, so that's why we are the 70 chip cast. And we're also excited for the future. We can do both. We can be excited for the future as well. There was a third thing in terms of housekeeping. Oh, right. So you said we soft launched. So
Yes.
a lot of these videos or a lot of these future episodes we're going to be referencing older stuff.
Yes.
Ben has a playlist on the channel That's just all Commanders videos. It'll be eventually renamed, I'm sure, 70 Chipcast playlist or whatever. But at some point before that, though, if you want to look at the older videos that we're referencing, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on these videos so you get to see all the older videos, but also so you can see all the new episodes that we're going to be putting out. At the current moment in time, it's going to be a weekly show, recorded on Tuesdays. We know it's kind of an inconvenience for us because we don't get the injury report, but it is what it is. We've been dealing with it for years at this point. We know kind of how to maneuver around it, but just putting that disclosure out there, that's something that we deal with. We don't have the injury report, so we don't know if guys are going to be injured, if they're going to be playing, how bad things are. We don't know that. So um, that's what we deal with. But any other housekeeping items that you can think of before we get started?
Yeah, just the name. Robertson came up with the name. It is so awesome that we've got a name that's that rich in history. And I still love all the Kansas City fans out there. I was never actually a Kansas City fan either. Basically, I'm a hired mercenary. I covered Kansas City for several years when they were winning. And now you guys are the hot new person who's winning. So I'm covering Washington, and I had Robertson to do it with. So Kansas City fans will still love y'all, and please keep watching all the good content on the channel.
Absolutely. So, getting right into things here today, first official depth chart was released, and there wasn't many surprises on here, but there were definitely noteworthy things. Okay. I'm going to point the direction right now to the offense, and I know you have some thoughts about this. Josh Connolly is getting, on paper, is getting the start week one. Again, we don't know what's going to be, what Dan Quinn's going to say at practice or what Kingsbury going to say in the practice the next couple of days. As we get into the weekly routine of these press conferences and stuff that are on a daily occurrence, weekly occurrence rather, with the head coach and the coordinators and so forth. So on paper, Connerly is starting at right tackle, and Nick Allegretti is starting at right guard. And this is odd because this was the least likely combination. I think we had go back and look at some of our other roster breakdowns and stuff. This was the least likely combination we thought was going to be the week one, barring injury. Um, but my thought is, again, going back to last year, that this is going to be treated like it was with Coleman and Cornelius Lucas on the left side, where there's just a platoon basically until Coleman got comfortable enough to be full-time starter. Lucas was in and out of the lineup for about 50 or so percent of the plays. And given that Allegretti is the starting right guard, it says or Andrew Wiley. I'm thinking it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be this kind of Wiley will be sort of the starter, but then Connerly will come in spurts. And it's going to be this rotation until Connerly can get comfortable. Otherwise, why not have Wiley start at right guard? I don't think it's a secret at this point that he's the better guard or just offensive lineman in general than Allegretti.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I listen. I love Wiley, but we're all getting what we wanted. And that's Connerly starting at right tackle week one, even if it's a little rough. That's what you wanted. I wanted. I think most Commanders fans were hoping for that he would look good enough to actually be able to play and start week one. And there he is. What I figure is happening is basically what you're saying. I was thinking less platoon, but if I'm the coaching staff and I've got a rookie right tackle on a team that I think can win some games this year again, who knows if it's as much as last year, but I think we can be good, then I'm a little worried about just plugging a rookie right in at right tackle right away. So what I would do is, if he showed up good enough in training camp, and obviously he has, I start him, but I tell him, hey, you and Wiley are just going to take turns as we need it. It'll be like personnel packages on the defensive side. We'll just swap out. But in reality, I'm thinking I really want Connor to play the whole game. And as long as he looks good enough to do it, then we're going to keep him in there. And Wiley will become the swing tackle or he'll become the starting right guard. And, as soon as we figure out what Connolly's actually going to look like under real fire, right? So I actually love this. I think it's a great sign that Connolly's able to do this, but I do think that's what's happening here with Wiley.
You Bill Krosky Merritt fans, your minds are currently melting right now because you're like,
Oh.
why is this guy not the number one running back listed on the depth chart? And I think your minds are further going to melt, and there is going to be rage tweeting and so forth that it's a very real possibility that he is not active for week one. Now, I'm of the belief that all four running backs are going to be active. McNichols, Rodriguez, they both play special teams. They both are capable of special teams. I know McNichols specifically, he's been a return guy. He's been, a blocker on punts and so forth, or personal protector for punts. He's making it. Okay, he's making the active game roster. Bill Merritt, I don't know that he has taken any special teams reps in preseason or training camp. Honestly, I haven't paid that much of attention. But if he's the fourth running back, you got to deactivate. I think it's seven guys. It's either six, seven, or eight guys. It's around that. So you start doing the math on the rest of the roster. It's like, man, who are you going to deactivate? Are you going to deactivate Madrano and Cahoe and Owens? And how many offensive linemen are you going to deactivate? Does Luke McCaffrey make the active game day roster? There's a lot of questions here in terms of who's going to be up and who's going to be down week to week. Obviously it's a fluid situation and so forth, but it's not going to be a guarantee week one that he's going to be on the field. And these fans that are really loving Krosky Merritt, and if the run game struggles week one, my goodness, they are going to be going off on Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury, Adam Peters. They're going to be going off on all these guys. And I hope the run game's good, regardless of who's in at running back. But I don't know why we're making such a big deal about the seventh round running back. He hasn't carried the ball yet, in a live game. So I again, I I struggle to put my faith in this guy, but everyone else seems to love him, but not the coaching staff yet.
Listen, I can't tell you how many different teams over the years I've seen have somebody, usually a running back, but somebody in training camp that looked great and then even got cut from the team before the season started. It happens. The coaches see what they see in practice every day. They'll see that talent level or they'll see whatever thing that is they value that can contribute to the team. And that may not be what's showing up in some of the exhibition games, and it may not be what some of the reporters are saying, it may be two different things. So that can happen. But listen, you hope that none of this matters, all right? You hope that the fourth running back does not matter. But as a coaching staff, you're trying to look and predict where are we the thinnest at, what's going to be the most guys getting tired or injured at. So that's where we need to have these extra guys coming in at. Having four running backs is a bit of a luxury in order to have four different guys who do four different things so you can be flexible in offense. We'll see. I'm a little thinking that one of these guys is going to sit, and it would probably be the seventh round rookie, I would think.
The other notable thing I would say on the depth chart is Deebo Samuel is listed as the kick returner.
Mm.
Um, the kicking, I guess the opening kick rules, or after someone scores, the kickoff rules have changed. So now if it's a touchback, the ball is brought out to the 35-yard line, which I mean, you're a first down and a half away from being in field goal range at this point with the way these kickers are kicking these days, which I think is just absolutely crazy. So there's going to be a lot more returns, because teams are not going to be willing to give up, I don't think in any instance, a touchback unless like they have a very dangerous returner and your kick coverage is not great. Um, we're going to see more returns this year than I think we ever have. So I think it is significant that Deebo is getting the first crack at being a kick returner. Probably just due to style. I mean, he's a running back. He's got good vision. Running back, basically playing receiver.
Yeah.
But I think that is significant. It worries me a bit because he hasn't been the most durable player in his career, and he's going to be taking these kickoffs now. I would rather see a guy like Chris Rodriguez or Jerry McNichols take these kickoffs, even though if they're less dynamic, I'd rather see these guys get the touches instead of a guy like Deebo Samuel, which you would like to think gets, kind of changes the offense a bit here. But again, significant.
I love it. Now, listen, I don't know how good of a kick returner he'll be. I'm not even sure how I feel about that. But the fact that he's doing it is great for the Commanders because it illustrates that he's looking healthy enough, active enough, and his cutting ability is looking good enough that they're willing to even put him in this spot. I said several weeks ago that I thought that they just wouldn't hand him the ball as much on offense as, jet sweeps and screens and stuff. I thought we'd just see more over the middle passes. And I said that in part because of the age and the injury thing, but also because you can see year by year his yards per carry on handoffs going down. He's just not showing that explosiveness. Well, the fact that we saw him on a couple of jet sweeps in exhibition games, and then also we see him here doing the kick return thing, that's a really good indicator that he may be fully healthy and he may be cutting, that extreme left right cut sharpness is there. So hang on, he may be getting a lot more jet sweeps and handoffs and wide receiver screens than I thought, a few weeks ago.
All right. Anything else on the depth chart?
Yeah, okay. So there were a couple things. First of all, Trey, well, are you asking just on the offensive side or on the defensive
Just,
side as well?
I didn't think there was anything real other than, I mean, you're about to say it. Other than the one thing, I didn't really think there's much on defense.
Listen, for Trey Amos to be getting a start, that's really good news for the Commanders.
Yes.
They had other guys, Jonathan Jones. They could have plugged in Jonathan Jones and said, the heck with it. We'll go with our veterans. I see football coaches at every level do this every year. They're going to start off the season with their veterans. But the fact that Trey Amos looks good enough to actually take over that spot and they didn't shuffle the deck to get Jonathan Jones in there instead, that's really, really good for Commanders. I love that. That's the one big thing.
It is encouraging. The only caution I have to this is during, everyone in camp and, during preseason practice, all these ex-players, coaches, everything, they were raving about this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who wasn't in practice and training camp this year? Terry. So he never really went against Terry. He went against Debo and a bunch of other, Jags, you know.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so I don't know how much stock I put into that. I mean, it's great that he looks great, right? But is he going to play great? I still have my reservations about that, putting a lot of faith into a rookie corner.
Right.
Sanders still was kind of the exception last year, right? So remains to be seen. We'll talk about him a bit later. Anything else?
It's a great point, but still, I love to see that, man. The veterans in the locker room would not respect this rookie starting unless he had in some degree, earned it and was showing that he could handle some of that. So I really do like that.
Okay, perfect. All right. Week one. It is here, sir.
It's
Just a
here.
few short days away. And to start off, it is going to be against the New York Jets at Northwest Stadium, 1 o'clock kick on Fox. Just your general reaction to, this and your thoughts. We're going to obviously dive a lot deeper into this here over the next, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes or so. Um, just your general thoughts on this
I,
game,
I
on this week one matchup.
Yeah, obviously, I'm glad football is back. That's the main thing. I'm glad we all get to sit here on our Sunday afternoons. Some of us after going to church, some of us not. That's fine. We just get to sit here and relax and watch Commanders football, NFL football. But the matchup, I like starting off the season with some of these division matchups. I don't want to burn them all up at the start of the season, but I kind of hate starting off the season with rando matchups, right? I do like it occasionally when they mix in the division matchups. So getting a division opponent to start off the season, I really like that too. I'm excited, man. It's finally here.
I'm excited, but division matchups on week one are always, I mean, division matchups regardless are always crazy, right?
Right,
They're a lot
right.
closer than you think they are. Um, they're a lot more competitive than you think they will be. And then week one, anything can happen week one.
Yep,
Blowouts,
yep.
overtime wins, overtime losses. Um, it- Everything here is on the table. A tie, I'm sure a tie probably hasn't happened in week one, but there is everything on the table here in terms of, week one is the biggest head fake in the NFL. We've been
Yeah,
covering that for years. Um, but I digress. Let's go ahead and move on here a little bit. So this is your kind of scouting report about the New York Giants based on last year and then the way their current roster is. So why don't you break that down for us?
yeah. All right. So we'll do this every week. For the first 4 weeks of the season, I'm going to use rankings from the 24 season, okay? Because that's really where most of our data is. After the first 4 weeks, I'll convert every opponent after that, starting week 5 to 2025 statistics, okay? So these 24 ranks you see over here on the left. You've got the offense on top, the defense on bottom, and you can see the Giants' offense was really bad last year. That's why everything's in red. 31st in points per game last year, 30th in yards per game, 28 in passing yards per game, 23rd in rushing yards per game, 29th in offensive EPA per play, 32nd in the red zone, 27 and third down. They weren't good at anything on offense. It was really bad most weeks. They really struggled to put points together. So, that's the first thing that you see that they're hoping they can improve. They were really bad on offense last year. Defense was much more of a mixed bag. So points per game allowed, 21st. You can see they got some red marks there and some green. They were really good at stopping the passing yards per game allowed, but that is not because they had a good secondary. The secondary was dreadful. The reason for that is because of the way that the scores ran. They were usually behind. Teams could just run the football against them, run the clock out. So that's why you see that right there. They were a mixed bag on defense. You look at the grades on the right. Okay, we've got the quarterback one covered up, but that's okay. Running back C plus. Those are my grades on these position groups. Okay, so wide receiver room is a B, tight end a C, offensive line a C minus. Giants offensive line really going to struggle this year unless they get something together. That's a struggle. And then you see a lot of green there on the defensive ranks. So, we can break them down here in a second. But that's what we're looking at here. Those are my rankings for the position groups on one side. That's the official rankings here on the left side of the screen.
Yeah, so before we dive into the defense here, wide receiver you have as a B. Um, is that just because is Malik Neighbors just carrying this wide receiver room?
Malik Neighbors is totally 100% carrying this whole receiver room. Yes.
Okay. Um, I feel like we've done the whole Wandale Robinson, Darius Slayton, and
Yeah.
some other holdovers, leftovers.
Right.
I feel like we've been doing that for about 5 years now. What was the definition of insanity? Banging your head against the wall repeatedly and expecting different results.
Yes.
Wasn't an exact
Yeah.
quote there, but you get my point. Are they ever going to do anything to change up this wide receiver room as a whole? I mean, they added Neighbors, but that was kind of the no duh of the century when they picked him. So what I get frustrated by stupidity. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
They tried to fix it with Jalen Hyatt. That didn't work.
no.
Slayton is a good deep speed threat, but that's it. It's about all he can offer. Wandale Robinson, he'll make a few catches. Won't be anything difference making. So no, Neighbors carrying the room. Stay tuned next offseason.
All right, what about the defense do you like?
Yeah, listen, I really do like this defense. Not top 10ish, but this should be a good, solid defense. And in fact, this front line scares me. Okay, you start off with Lawrence at defensive tackle. He's a beast. He will create problems on Sunday. There's no question about it. He will create problems, but he'll do that every single week. He is a stud player. Love him. And then the edge rushers from Brian Burns to the rookie Carter from Penn State to whatever they get out of Thibodeau, those guys can be very fast off the edge. That's a headache right there off the edge. And then the linebackers are really solid. So that front seven right there, that's a good front seven. There aren't too many teams in the league who can boast a better front seven than that. There's a few, but not too many. So that's going to be a real headache right there. I am concerned about that front four and then the linebackers, really veteran support group back there.
Where's your biggest concern for the team overall?
Well, if I'm worried about what the Giants are going to do to us, it's getting to the quarterback. Lawrence is a beast up the middle, and then I mentioned the three edge rushers off the edge. I'm still not too worried about the secondary. It should be improved, but that's not saying a lot. It
Right.
went from miserable last year to hey, maybe we don't suck this year. They're going to get pressure on the quarterback. There's no question about it. It's still we like our offensive line. It's a better offensive line, but this offensive line isn't as good as that defensive line. Okay, so they're going to have to come up with some things there. That's a really good defensive line right there for the Giants. One of the best ones in the league.
All right, let's look on to some things to watch. for the week one matchup here. I have a list of three players from each team. Okay. I'd like to get your reactions after each list. Um, it's hard week one, right? Because it's like, man, there could be anyone could go off, anyone could just really struggle. Like there's nothing that's going to be super obvious out of the gate. So I'm just
Right.
picking the most interesting players that I think for this game and then maybe just for the season overall. Right. So that's just kind of how week one's just going to go. Next week will be a lot more interesting because we'll have at least one game to go off of. So starting off, the edge rusher rookie out of Penn State, Abdul Carter. What's he going to be? Right? I mean, the physical tools, the talent that pops, that's obvious, right? How is he going to be on the NFL level? Is he going to be that Micah Parsons type role? Is he going to be more of a traditional edge rusher? How are the Giants going to use him? And is he going to be consistent? Because I think that was one of the worries with him coming out was how consistent is he going to be on the NFL level? So again, not doubting him, very like you mentioned, a few minutes ago, this front four is very scary. And now you add it was already scary. Now you add Abdul Carter, and this if everything pans out the way that the Giants are hoping, this could be one of the top front fours in the NFL. Quarterback Russell Wilson. His clock started ticking the moment Jackson Dart was drafted. How much time this man has left as the starting quarterback in New York, I don't know. But the better he plays and the more games that the Giants win, the longer he stays the starting quarterback. All right, they're not going to be on a 7, 8 game win streak, right? And just make a change at quarterback. They're not going to do
Right.
that unless he is absolutely struggling. Kind of like what happened last year in Pittsburgh, where it was Justin Fields initially, and then they made the change, and then there was a lot, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do against what should be an improved defense with Washington, but it's still not a elite defense. Okay. Even for the most optimistic of fans, we are not an elite defense. Let's be honest with ourselves. And then I have on here Deontay Banks, and of course the photo with Deontay Banks getting dunked on by Terry McLaurin. Um, this I was surprised to see that this dude is still starting. Um, he had a 50 grade by PFF last year, which I don't put a ton of stock into PFF grades, but still it's a perspective to look at, and he ranked 182nd out of 220 some. So that was really bottom of the league, and this man is starting. Um, he's been around for a while now. He needs to show something. And again, last time that we played, Terry McLaurin was all over this guy, right? Like he was wide open. Okay. So I'm excited to see what Terry can do to him this time. Hopefully that, the mismatches with Terry and Debo, we can take advantage of him. But again, he needs to show something, or else they're either gonna make a change, or he's just gonna get flat out cut at some points during the season because they cannot take this another repeat performance of last year.
I won't hit all three players, of course, but the Deontay Banks thing I think is the key. I not the key, but it's something I really think you've hit on here. They've got Andrew Phillips. He'll hold down the nickel just fine. He'll be a solid nickel. They brought in Paulson Adebo, who's nothing to write home about from a one-on-one coverage standpoint, but he is a fantastic athlete. I think he'll fit into more of the zone, more consistently playing zone this year that they're going to do. You still got to start somebody at the other cornerback spot. So it's either going to be Deontay Banks or Cordell Flott or, some 2025 undrafted free agent rookie that you brought in. So hey, they went with Deontay Banks probably because of the athleticism. That's what he brought out of Maryland more than anything else. But hey, that's a real weak spot on this Giants defense, which doesn't have a ton of weak spots, but that's a big one. No matter who they plug into that other corner spot, right? And listen, let's just it's not going to happen. Let's say the Giants are able to put somebody on McLaurin that can shut down McLaurin, and of course they can't. Let's say they could. You still have a major matchup advantage over here on the other side for the Commanders because the Giants are just not good at this other cornerback spot. I do feel like they're going to try to do a little bit more of what the Eagles do, which is zone, drop back, and then move forward on everything, and you hope that your front line gets home here before the quarterback can find the holes in the zone. It's still a weak spot for the Giants, no matter if it was Deontay Banks or somebody else.
All right, now switching over to Washington. All right, three players to watch on the Washington side. Trey Amos. All right, we talked about him a little bit earlier. Again, I don't put a ton of faith in this guy. Okay, at least starting out. Okay, he's a
Right.
rookie. He's at various times throughout the year. This guy's going to get exposed. Not hopefully not badly, right? But he's going to get got a few times. It's just being a rookie corner in the NFL. Mikey Sanders still, he was not perfect last year by all means. Okay, he really came on towards the end of the season, but he still made mistakes. He's corners are unfortunately in today's game, they're designed to get beat. Okay, that's
Yeah.
just the way that it is. So he's going to get beat at times. But in this game specifically, Russell Wilson is a veteran quarterback. Veteran quarterbacks will go after the weak spot in the defense. If Trey Amos gets beat by, just say he lines up against Neighbors and he gets beat, Wilson's going to keep going back to that well as many times as he can until Trey Amos proves otherwise. And that's just the reality and the savvy of a veteran quarterback, knowing that, okay, there's a potential mismatch here. Let's try and see what the rookie can do. Okay, and that's going to be again a recurring thing if Trey Amos can't step up in this game, which it's a hard test in week one. You're potentially going up against Malik Neighbors, and even not Darius Slayton is still a capable receiver. I mean, it's a hard test week one. I'm not saying Wilson's a fantastic quarterback. I mean, at this point in his career, he's not, but he knows enough. He's been around long enough to identify the weak spots. Next, again, Josh Connolly, another rookie here. If he does in fact get the start and he's starting the entire game, you have Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter. You're facing either one of those guys, two of those guys, a mixture of all three of those guys at some point. Not to mention Dexter Lawrence probably on some twists and stunts. Can he hold up? A big first test for him. Can he hold up? He's still got some developing to do. Okay, physically, he has some developing to do. Is he like, can he handle a full-time starting role? That's why I'm not hoping, but I would be okay with the platoon with Wiley. Okay. But let's see what he's got. If he's going to be a full-time starter, let's see what he has. Let's see if we know we need to constantly be chipping and stuff on the right side and sending him help. We'll see. But again, someone to watch. And then finally, Deebo Samuel. What is he going to be? Right? He's in a contract year. Okay. He's the same place as Terry is. Deebo's 29 years old. He's got maybe one big contract left in him before I mean, especially his play style, before he's probably done with his career. So how is he going to? I mean, it seems like he's taking things seriously. Through the summer, through training camp, it seems like he's taking things seriously. That he's gotten in shape, that he's done everything he needs to do. How does he transform this offense, and how does he perform? Like there's just kind of a spotlight on him. He's under the magnifying glass here to see what he can do if he's attractive enough to us to bring him back or to another NFL team to give a somewhat large contract to in this upcoming offseason. So those are the three guys I have for Washington. Your reaction to that list?
I'm going to ask you a question about these three players here in just a second because I'm really fascinated about moving forward, really. The Trey Amos thing. Okay, so in my head, Trey Amos typically is going to guard the bigger receivers. I don't know that he would look great against Neighbors, especially as a rookie, but even as a veteran, I don't know that he's got the speed to handle Neighbors. Lattimore, who struggled last year against some of the bigger, more talented receivers, I would hope that he would be the guy that could handle Neighbors. But let's say for some reason that both guys are struggling with Neighbors, I wouldn't be at all surprised because, and listen, Neighbors is the guy to watch on this offense, right? He's the guy. There is nobody else. There's other contributors. There is nobody else to watch besides Neighbors. So we know the Commanders are going to bracket him, right? They're going to take away the underneath, take away the overhand. They're going to make him beat everything double. But if for some reason the Giants start moving the ball in some other direction, some other way, and Amos and Lattimore are both struggling, do not be surprised if Sainristil rolls right over to Neighbors and just hounds him the entire game. Even if he can't stop him, do not be surprised. He's got the speed, the athleticism to at least kind of hang in there. If an aging Lattimore isn't looking great against Neighbors, or if my rookie Amos, who's a little bit more of a big corner, can't do the Neighbors thing, right? So that's hey, it's such a benefit to only have neighbors to worry about. I mean, there really is nobody else that you really have to lose sleep over. There's other guys, but what I wanted to ask you about though, Amos Connerly's Debo. If only one guy had a monster game, which guy would you be most excited about? Be like, yes, this guy is hitting. Which guy would really juice you up if only one guy had a monster?
I, I would say Debo, and only because eye test, right? I mean,
Okay,
it's a lot easier to get excited about a receiver because you can literally see the results, you see it on TV. Connerly, it would be great if he had a massive game, right? Because then that's like, okay, maybe he can handle this because next week he's got Micah Parsons
right.
and that front floor in Green Bay. The following week, even though it's a longer week, he's got Max Crosby to deal with in week 3 against the Raiders.
Mm.
So he's got a lot to deal with in this first, span of the season, and he's really going to be put to the test here. Troy Amos, if he has a an okay game, like it's not great, it's not bad. I don't know that there's much like unless he gets absolutely burned bad deep. I don't know that
Yeah,
it's like a horrible thing, like we're not expecting this defense to be fantastic anyway. So
right,
I don't know that it's going to be I don't want to say concerning, but it's like okay, yeah, he's a rookie. Like he'll deal with it. It's not going to be
right.
concerning if he has an okay game. Debo to me, if he has the fantastic game, right out of the blocks, it's like okay, this offense is going to be otherworldly, especially when McLaurin gets fully acclimated back into football shape and so forth. That would be the thing that would get me most juiced up. I will say about Trey Amos and just the defense of the secondary that you were, talking about a minute ago. I don't know how you feel. I am not a favor of defensive coordinators playing sides. Like, you know, Amos, you got left side, Lattimore, you got right side, and then Samer still will just follow wherever the slot guy is, right? I hate that. I hate that strategy. It makes no sense to me. I much prefer, Lattimore to follow neighbors all across the field. Amos, you get Slayton or Robinson or whoever, whatever matchup works best. I much prefer that strategy as opposed to playing sides. I don't care if you're more comfortable on the left side or the right side. I don't even care. Okay. I want you on that guy because that's your responsibility, nothing else. Like
See,
I
yeah,
much prefer that strategy as opposed to playing sides. I've never been a fan of that.
with one exception, I completely agree. I do not like sticking one guy on one side and say that's your side. The only exception to that is if you have a Darrelle Revis or Deion Sanders level guy who just prefers that one side, and he almost becomes those kind of guys. That's the purest of the pure, right? They really can take away not just the guy but a whole side of the field if they really are more comfortable with that one side. Because what they can do, they can actually guard their man, no matter how good that man is, but they're also kind of a safety. They can actually ball hawk the whole zone. They're that good, that fast, that football savvy, right? Other than that, forget about it. No, we're moving you guys around wherever we need to. I don't like that side business either. I agree.
I hope that's not the case here, but
Yeah,
I don't think it
yeah.
will be. But again, I hope that doesn't develop into that because they don't want to bother anyone's ego here or anything like that. I really hope they don't plan on doing that.
See, it makes it more predictable too because if you send guys in motion, you're like, hey, we don't like that matchup. No problem. Trot him over to this side of the field. Hey,
Yeah.
we got the matchup over here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Ben. Your two keys to hail victory. You
Yeah, and I
got
apologize.
you're okay. It was supposed to be three, but we got two. It's all right. It's all good.
I was a dunderhead this week and only did two. That's not cool. But anyway,
There's plenty of dunderhead moments that I have had over the course of our showmanship together. It's been yeah, so you're all right.
these things do mean something to me. These are not just words. The first thing I had was energy. Um, you know, it's so easy to come in flat against a team like the Giants. It's so easy to just come in flat when you don't even mean to. And listen, I don't need somebody to be a rah rah cheerleader, talk them up like a bunch of high schoolers. That's not what I'm talking about. But I do want the team to come in with a ton of energy. Let's get Bobby Wagner working these guys. Let's get Terry back in the fold working these guys. Let's get the quarterback working these guys. Let's get all the veterans working these guys. Let's come up with a lot of energy. Let's hit somebody right off the bat. Let's even if we're not playing crisp football, because sometimes you don't. Let's bring the energy. Do not come out here flat. And I don't really think that'll be the case, but it does happen. So don't come out here flat week one and give one away to an inferior team because the Giants are. I respect what they can do, but the Giants just cannot be measured on the same length on the whole season as the Commanders. Come in with a lot of energy. Really bring the energy right from the start. Don't wait until the second half to turn it on. Don't wait until the second quarter to bring your game mode and say, all right, now we're really going to get serious. You do see it, especially coming off sometimes a fantasy season like the one y'all just had. Come out flat, and everybody's kind of looking at each other like, "Well, I don't know what happened here. Let's bring the energy. That's number one. I really got to bring the energy.
All right. And number two, sir.
Number two, the focus is. I mentioned the Patriots a couple of weeks ago. They did this better than almost anybody I've ever seen. And honestly, the Redskins of the '80s did the same thing. 49ers did the same thing. Um, that focus. You've had the Terry thing. It's been distracting, but it's over now. You've got a lot of people in Washington fan base singing your praises and expecting another one just like this. You've got a lot of people around the country saying, "Hey, the Commander's going to take a step back," but it doesn't matter. None of that matters. You have to come in focused on your job, whatever that job is. So not only bring the high level energy, but bring a focus to what you're doing. Stay focused not on the contract, not on any of the fanfare or the negativity, whatever's been on your mind this week. Come in and focus on your job. In the future, I'll be a lot more X and O oriented, but for week one against the Giants, you got to bring the energy and you got to be focused. And that really is part of growing up. It's all nice to be the cute, sweet franchise with the young quarterback and, the young tackle and the young CB and all of that. Part of growing up as a team is every week you bring the energy and every week you bring the focus. And, it's easy to just say those words, but I really do want to see the Commanders do it this week from the first quarter, the first week.
I mean, they sound cliche and simple. It's like, well, yeah,
Right,
no, duh. Why wouldn't you bring focus and energy, right? But
right.
you said it. I mean, time and time again, like these teams that come out week one, some of them they look shell shocked. They're like, what happened? And it's not always obvious. It's not always one of those things that's like front of your mind, right? It's like, well, we've
Right.
been preparing all summer. It's like, we got this. We've been preparing for week one for months. Like it at that point, shouldn't you have it down, right? Shouldn't you be excited to like finally like get it out, like this game plan and everything like that? I mean,
Yes.
again, it sounds so simple and cliche, but it's really not because as you mentioned, it's not a given in this league. For whatever reason, it's just not. Um,
Right.
it's very important to start fast, to start strong, and to play that way. I mean, every week, yes, as you said, but especially week one, you have to set the tone. You have to set a precedent for like, okay, this is the way we're going to be going forward. And again, week one is the biggest head fake in all of sports, but
Yeah.
you have to start somewhere, right? So why not week one?
The day may come where you, like the Chiefs or like the Patriots, can kind of treat September as extended training camp / exhibition because you're good, you're going to win a lot of games. You can experiment. You don't have to worry if you start off 2-2. You just know you've got the man at quarterback. You've got one of the best coaches. All of that may come, but it's not here yet. Right now, you're still a team that's trying to grow up, trying to consistently make the playoffs, trying to compete for the division against, quite honestly, an Eagles team that's better than us right now. So these games matter. Cleaning up all this stuff right here, this Giants week one stuff, which can be tricky, let's just get it done. You're the better team. Let's get this done. That really is important for a team that's trying to grow up here.
All right, Ben. Final predictions for week one.
Oh yeah, baby. All right, I got the Commanders. I thought about this all over the weekend, and I came to a decision yesterday. I've got the Commanders winning. I've got them scoring 27 points, which I think is well within their wheelhouse. In spite of, I do think this Giants defense will catch a couple of sacks and maybe a turnover, maybe an interception. They're going to cause some problems, but Commanders are going to be able to move the football. They're going to be able to score points. I got them at 27. And then I've got the Giants coming in at 19 points. So about 4 field goals and a touchdown. Um, the Giants are going to be able to move the football some. I don't think they're going to struggle at that all day. It's not going to be a grind. I do think the Giants are going to struggle to find the end zone. So I've got the Commanders winning 27-19.
I have the Commanders winning week one, 31-25.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
I think they're going to be able to put up points. I think that they're going to be able to score.
Yeah.
Because I was debating 19 or not. I was like, man, 19's kind of sticking out in my head here. I
Uh-huh.
put 25 for a reason. Because Russell Wilson, he's still got a little bit of that magic left in him. And if you remember last year when they came in when he was with Pittsburgh and they came in, I mean, he was clutch. He pulled some serious stuff out of his you know what. So I think there's going to be like a big push towards the end, but Jayden Daniels in the end, he's going to lock it up. He's either going to get run the clock out and just take a knee, or he's going to get down to the field goal that puts it at just out of reach, or make him have to score a touchdown. It's going to be hard. I think at some point they're going to try to go for two and miss. So that's why I have them scoring 25 points. Again, I think this offense is going to be, especially if Debo pops and is back to where he was in his career, being that incredibly flexible, versatile, weapon X basically.
Yes.
Then this offense is going to be absolutely, I mean, I don't really think I'm short selling or like overselling here when I say it would be the number one offense in the NFL.
Can you imagine if Debo were to hit indications of kick returner are? I will say, if I'm the Commanders' offense, I do feel like we can score points, but I don't want Jayden Daniels getting rocked early. Okay, so let's run some short stuff. Let's get the ball out of his hand quick.
Hmm.
Eventually, as Daniels settles in, and maybe that's right from the first play, but eventually, as Daniels settles in, he's going to be able to outrun those edge rushers no matter how quick they are. He's faster than they are. And he's going to be able to settle in eventually and take advantage of that secondary, which we know has at least one weak spot, if not two, depending on who's guarding McLaren. It may have two weak spots, right? So I feel like as long as you don't let Daniels just sit back there and get rocked by a pretty stout defensive line here, this is the Commanders' game to win or lose. They're going to decide this.
Oh, we both having them win week one, man. I really hope so. God, I hope
Yes.
so. There's one thing that we didn't talk about, or didn't get a chance to talk about, rather,
Yep.
um, because we had to wait. All right, we did a video on the Terry McLaurin extension. Um, that's up. If you want to see our instant reaction, go head on over. I think it was a week or so ago at this point. I don't even know how long it was. But go check that out. Um, we didn't get the details of the contract. Okay, the nitty-gritty details that maybe not other people care about, but me and you care about. Okay.
Yes. A lot.
So initially the numbers came out 96 over 3 years. Okay, $32 million average. It seemed like, okay, wow, the team really came up on that number. But that key number, when we did this video, I said up to 96. Okay.
Yes.
That was the key. It's like, okay, how much are the guaranteed dollars? It turns out that the money that he was going to make for 2025 prior to the extension and the franchise tag number for next offseason, if we were to like let him play out his contract and we were to tag him next year, that just so happens to be around the amount of guaranteed dollars that he got. So basically, Adam Peters did not cave at all. They're like, hey, here's a contract. If you want it, take it. If you don't want it, you're playing, on the last year deal. And he came out in the press conference afterwards. He said, we didn't have to do this deal. He said, we could have let him play out the last year of his contract. We didn't have to do this. So the fact that they guaranteed basically the next 2 years of his contract, basically, in
Right.
theory, like obviously that's not how the contract plays out, but
Right.
basically they guaranteed the next 2 years of what would have been the next 2 years of his deal. And then after next season, they can cut ties and save a boatload of money. So, and there's tons of, this is a heavily incentive laden deal. You can see the incentives there at the bottom of the screen there. Basically, they're saying, okay, if you're that good, then show us, and we will pay you handsomely for doing so, especially if we make the playoffs. This is a win for both sides. Terry gets the next 2 years of his contract basically guaranteed. He gets guaranteed money at this age, and he wasn't going to get it anywhere else, really. I mean, some team might have overpaid, but it wasn't going to be a winning team. So I'm happy this is done. I'm happy that the team stood their ground and basically won this deal.
I see, and I agree. It hit the AAV sweet spot that we were talking about, that 32, just over 32. It's awful close to that DK Metcalf number, which was important to him and his agent. So what they can do, the agent can now go and brag to whoever he wants to brag to and say, "Hey, look what I did! I got this AAV." The player can now go and say, "Hey, I got Metcalf AAV." That's all fine. It's all true because Metcalf's contract isn't purely all guaranteed either, right? All the players often care about is AAV. But, what the team cares about is how long are we stuck with this contract if old Scary Terry ain't so scary anymore, right? So that's a big deal too. 2 years guaranteed, basically. One of them already basically was. We were going to keep him at for 2025 no matter what, unless we traded him, right? So, aside from that, it's $46 million guaranteed, and I said if it's around 60, that's good for the player. If it's around 45, then that's good for the team. So this was really good for the team. I like it. It would cost you in 2027. It's going to cost you about half the cap number to cut him, but you could, if he's not scary anymore, you can walk away from that. That's just fine. And then again, if you want to do it in 2028, it's not going to cost you that much to walk away either, which we kind of expect by that time he's probably not going to be the player that he is now. So I really did like this deal for the team ultimately. And, the way they released it early on, the player and the agent get to talk about, hey, we won, we got our number. And now when nobody cares but you and me and a handful of other people, we go back and we look and see, hey, the team should be very happy with this. We wanted Terry and we wanted to pay Terry. But goodness gracious, look at the cap hits for the next 2 seasons. 17.8 and 18. That is nothing.
Yeah.
So even if you add in dead cap numbers and the ghost numbers there that they like to call them, you're fine. This is totally fine. This is basically what the team would have wanted to do. It was just arranged in a series of ways. So I do like it.
And the great part is, okay, just say he's maybe not all pro, but he's still pushing out 1,000 yard seasons, 70 to 80 catches, 8 to 12 touchdowns the next couple of seasons, right?
Yes.
2027 hits at 34 million for your cap hit.
Right.
That's still really not a bad at this point. Think 2 years in the future. That's not going to be a bad price point for what you have. Like they're probably going to want to renegotiate at that point, but it's not like even if you stay at that number, it's not a bad deal.
Right. Yeah, see, I agree. 34 is not bad for a guy who's producing, or even if he gets old that year, all of a sudden, it's not bad for a guy who produced for 2 years and then gave you another year on top of it. Coming 3 years from now, when the cap numbers will have, progressively gotten larger, it wouldn't be bad at all. I wouldn't mind doing that at all. Again, I really do like this. And you mentioned the incentives there. That's fairly unusual for a guy this good and a contract this large. You don't usually see too many incentives like that for a guy this good. So, again, that's another way that the team could offer. Again, I tell you, some general managers, there's playing hardball, and then there's just not giving a guy anything. Well, they gave him things to work with, right? It's, hey, if you're good, we pay you. If you meet the incentives, we pay you. If you're still good at the age of 33, we pay you. They didn't just try to play hardball and shut it all down. They did open up more options. Like, hey, we'll give you your base number that you're looking at. We get the guarantees down. What we're looking at, it's a 3-year deal that we're looking at, but there's incentives coming in here too. So this really was good for everybody. I wish it had happened 4 months ago, but nobody wanted to give in, so that's why it had to wait till happen till now.
So next season, if he's an all-pro receiver, and not this season, next season, if he makes the
Yes.
playoffs, if the team makes the playoffs and he gets 83 catches, 1,097 yards and 10 touchdowns, and is a first or second team All-Pro, you're looking at over close to $3 million worth of incentives.
Yeah, I would more than
That's
happily
pretty
pay
heavy.
that. It is, but I got no problem paying that because what is it? He's at 18 next year. You know,
Yep.
you tack on 3, you're at 21. I'm happy,
Yeah,
thrilled.
absolutely.
Yes.
All right, real quick, we did want to shout out Box Score Network. Follow all of these shows really. Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts over. Also over on the Box Score Network YouTube channel. As soon as you're done listening and subscribing to this YouTube channel, like and comment as well. Go ahead over to Box Score and check out their latest video on the Box Score Network YouTube channel. Also, all these shows. Um, Ben, you can speak to a lot of these, um, and just the content they're putting out. Everyone's ramping up right now. It's not
Yeah.
just us that's ramping up, it's everybody. This is the busy season, right? Especially in sports, especially for football podcasts and football YouTube shows. So we are more than happy to, continue working with these guys, and it's great content that we've been putting out.
A lot there. The only one I'll mention is ours, odds on favorite. We have converted that during the regular season. Everything you hear on this Commanders YouTube show will be on the Odds on Favorite podcast during the regular season. Come next January, February, you'll hear some new, different content on Odds on Favorite, but just a programming note right there.
Absolutely. And did you have anything else for our audience this evening?
Not unless I forgot something. Was there something I should have mentioned other
Nope.
than go Commanders?
Yeah. You'll learn, Ben. You'll learn.
Hail to the victors.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yep. It's Ben. You will learn. I promise. Um.
I'll bring a pig snout next week. Okay,
God, that would be. Honestly, hey, look. What would it take? What would it take for you to wear that on air live?
and a dress. I'm
Not the
not
dress.
doing it.
I don't. Not the whole.
Okay.
We don't want. That sends a different message these days. Not so much as it did back in the 80s.
Hey, look, I was a little worried about the message it was sending back in the '80s, but I mean, we were all winning, so who cared?
Right. Yeah, that's true. Um. Not the dress and the wig. We don't need to fully recreate the Hogettes. I mean, that would be. Unfortunately, I feel like that would be a rather scary sight these days. Um, Not that it wasn't back then in the 80s, but I don't really want to recreate the Hogettes. I would not be part of that.
For those of you who don't know what the Hoggets is, you may not, I don't know, you may not have seen them, but go check it out on YouTube. It's as you celebrate Super Bowls from the '80s, go check out the Hoggets.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, thank you all for listening, for watching, whether it's on the podcast side or the YouTube side. Thank you all for tuning in, and it's going to be a great season. Let's go have ourselves a season. And hopefully you guys stick around for the whole thing. So, see you all next week when we preview week 2.